Hi, and welcome to Karen's Kitchen Easy. Together, with our easy-to-follow recipes, kitchen basics, hints, and tricks, we will make you the star of your kitchen. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and be sure to check out our link below this video. It will take you to karenskitcheneasy.com, where you can find a printable version of today's recipe. And remember, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But wait, it is easy, and you can do it too. Today's lesson is shortbread, as easy as 1, 2, 4. Shortbread is a very old form of cookie, and it's great because there are just 3 ingredients. And you only need to remember 3 numbers. The number 1, 2, and 4. The number 1 in this case is sugar. And we're going to be using 1/2 cup of sugar. Put it in our bowl. Number 2 is 2/2 cups of butter, which of course equals 1 cup. It needs to be room temperature or pretty soft. We're going to put it in with our sugar in a bowl, and we're going to cream them together. Creaming is just blending a fat with the sugar. And because we use granulated sugar, the sugar is crystallized, and the sharp corners help to cut the butter and make it very creamy and smooth. Now, you can do this in a mixer or a food processor. I just prefer a fork. I think it's just as fast, and you get less things dirty this way. So we're going to keep folding our butter and our sugar together until we get a pretty consistent mass in the bowl. And that's why we want the butter to be room temperature so it's nice and soft. Now, once we get the sugar and the butter all creamed together, and we pretty much have it done here, we're going to add the flour. And that's our number 4. 4/2 cups of flour, which of course equals 2 cups. So we're going to add that to our butter and sugar mixture and keep stirring with a fork, mashing and blending together until we have a consistent mass in the bowl. And again, we could do this with a food processor. I just think it's just as fast and easy, and you get less things dirty in the kitchen. While we're doing this, I want to remind you that we're going to be baking this in the oven. So you want to set your oven to 320 degrees, which is a relatively slow oven, but we don't want the cookies to brown. We just want to get them baked. So we've been mashing and blending our butter and sugar and flour together until we get a nice consistency together in the bowl. And then we're going to set it aside, and we're going to actually knead it for a little bit. So once we have it all consistent, and we have it pretty well consistent in the bowl now, we're going to set it aside and sprinkle some flour on our work surface. And that's about 1/4 to 1/2 cup here of flour. You can do this on your countertop, on your table. I simply have a wooden cutting board here that I use. And we're going to pour our ingredients onto the floured surface. Now, kneading is a very simple process. All we're going to do is form our dough into a ball, flatten it out on the table surface, and then we're going to fold it in half. And we're just going to fold it either toward you or away from you. And then we're going to turn it 90 degrees and do it again. Flatten and fold. Turn it 90 degrees, flatten and fold. And we're going to keep doing this for about 5 minutes. What this does is it releases the gluten in the flour, and it makes the flour a little bit more able to hold its form, and then doesn't break apart on you when you actually are going to be cutting the cookie up. So I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. So now 5 minutes later, we have a nice solid lump, if you will, of dough, and it has a very soft, silky texture to it. I've taken a glass baking dish here. It's about 8 inches by about 14 inches. You can use a metal baking dish if you like. And you can grease and flour it, or you can take the shortcut that I like and use what's called baker's parchment. I just folded it to fit my dish with a little bit hanging over the sides like wings that I'm going to be picking it up with when we've done baking. I'll set it aside here. Now we're going to take our dough and we're going to press or use a rolling pin to where it gets approximately the same size as our pan. So we're just going to press it, and when we're done putting it in the pan, it should be between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick, because that's the thickness that's going to bake the best. Now we're going to keep pressing it, and it doesn't have to get exactly the same size as the pan, but kind of approximate. Now I'm going to get out one of my favorite tools in the kitchen, which is called a bench scraper. Love this thing. It's useful for so much. And since I don't have much flour on my board anymore, I'm going to use this to help lift the dough off the countertop and lay it into the pan. Now I'm going to keep on pressing my dough until it fills out the corners of the pan. We don't want really any air space between the edge of the dough and the pan, because that might brown a little bit too quickly and get done too quickly. So we're just going to keep spreading it until we have it completely filled out to the edges. Now, we could sprinkle the top with spices and sugar, and that makes a lovely finish for this, but we have another plan for our cookies. So instead, we're going to take our bench scraper and we're going to crease our cookie dough into what are called fingers. You don't press the whole way through the dough, just press about halfway through. And these fingers are going to be about 3/4 of an inch wide by about 4 inches long by, about 1/2 inch thick. That's one of the traditional shapes for shortbread cookies. Another is a wedge. There are a lot of ways you can do it. You can make them into rounds, but I prefer the fingers. It's a very traditional way of doing it. And once we get all of these creases made in the dough, then we're going to put it into our oven, bake it at 320 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes. You don't want them to get brown on the top. You just want to get them a little bit golden on the top. And then when it's done, we'll be able to grab the sides of the paper and lift it out of the pan. So anyway, I will see you back here in about half an hour. Now I let the cookies cool in the pan, and then I lifted them out and I finished cutting them along those crease lines. Now we're going to make our cookies rather special. I promised you this when we started cooking. And we're going to melt chocolate and put it on top. And we're going to put brickle bits on top of the chocolate. Now, to melt the chocolate, I've got it again in a heat-proof bowl. Just some chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips. We're going to put it in the microwave at full force for 30 seconds. Then I'm going to take it out and stir it. Put it in for another 30 seconds, take it out and stir it again, another 30 seconds. At that point, it should be nice and melted. You want to be careful because chocolate burns very easily in the microwave. So 30 seconds really is about as long as you can do it. So now our chocolate's all nice and melted. And we could spoon it or spread it over top of the cookies very simply. I'm going to take a little bit of a shortcut here and use a disposable pastry bag. You can get these in any grocery store or kitchen supply store, and it's just a cone of plastic. You can also use a Ziploc bag for this, but the disposable pastry bag is just a little bit heavier plastic. I've folded the top down in a cuff, and I'm just going to spoon some of the chocolate into this cone now. And be careful because the chocolate is pretty warm. It's not going to burn you, but it is rather warm. So we're just spooning it into the bag. And then we're going to fold the top of the bag over. Keep our hands a little bit less free. And then twist it a little bit to keep all the chocolate inside. Now we're going to snip off the very end of the cone. And you don't have to put any kind of a fancy tip on it or anything. We're just creating a hole. And then we squeeze or pipe a ribbon of it onto every cookie. Now you don't have to be fancy or perfect on this because we are going to spread it out when we're done. But this is just a very quick and easy way to get the chocolate onto the cookie. And once we finish, think I'm going to put a little bit more on those first few cookies because I got a little bit more generous as we went on. I'm actually going to use a Chinese soup spoon to help spread it with because it's got a bend to it and it's very easy to control. So I'm just going to use the bottom of the spoon then to spread the chocolate over the top of the cookie. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think if it's a little bit rough looking, it makes it look more homemade and really a little bit more couture. So be sure you work while the chocolate is melted and still soft. We spread the chocolate over the cookie. Oh, just beautiful. Now we're going to take our brickle bits, and you could also use chopped peanuts or other type of chopped nuts. I simply happen to like the flavor of the brickle. Once we get all that chocolate spread out, we'll just set that aside. And now that we're going to just sprinkle the brickle over the top of the cookies. And again, you can get this in any grocery store. Another fun thing to do is, instead of brickle or peanuts, put white chocolate on the cookies and put colored sprinkles on top of your shortbread. And that also makes for a very festive style of cookie. I'm going to press the brickle down to be sure that it sticks. And again, you still need to work while the chocolate is relatively warm. And then we're going to set this aside for about an hour to make sure the chocolate sets up. And I think I'll put it in the refrigerator actually to make sure it chills. And then when I'm finished with it, I will simply break the cookies back apart and they're ready to eat. And you can have your shortbread plain, or you can experiment with different toppings for the shortbread. But I just want you to remember, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But wait, it is easy, and you can do it too. Remember, I'll see you next time on Karen's Kitchen Easy.